Hello and welcome. My name is Christina from Empowered Creator. I am a mindset and conscious manifesting teacher and coach, and this is my YouTube channel. Here I talk about all things law of assumption, mindset, conscious manifesting, the quantum universe, and a lot more. And my goal is to simplify everything without the fluff. So if you guys like this content and you would like to see more of it, I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel, comment on this video, like it, share it, and stick around. Also, if you need help with your specific situation, I offer one-on-one coaching, email coaching, as well as custom subliminals for whatever needs you may have. I also have some self-study courses about manifesting your specific person. So if you're interested in any of these services, the links are below in the description box. Click on them and they're going to take you to my website. With all that being said, let's dive into today's video. In today's video, I want to give you guys my own personal process for changing the versions of people in my reality that I want to change or that I feel I should change, and so on. There are 3 things that I have done in each and every occasion. Sometimes it's one of them, sometimes it's 2 of them, sometimes it's all 3 of them. But when I do some or all of these 3 things, results always follow. So this is what I'll be discussing in today's video. Stay tuned. So I know that manifesting different versions of people can be a big point of contention within the manifesting community. There is a big chunk of the manifesting community that says you cannot change people or you should not change people. And there are also all those people who have a lot of resistance to the idea where they might want to see the change, they might want to experience a different version of the people in their reality. And yet, they don't think it's possible, or they're afraid they won't be able to do it, they're afraid they might fail, and in general, they're wondering, is that even possible? So my response to the first category of people is that you can absolutely change the versions of people that you see, and it all goes through yourself. I'm going to explain that in a minute. It's all about changes that you make within yourself. It's not about any changes that you make without you on the outside world or directly onto the person. And that as long as you're not manifesting people to do something horrible, as long as you're not manifesting versions of them that are not good or are not nice, or versions that are toxic or things like that, I would in fact argue that you are helping them become more developed and better versions of themselves, which usually actually make these people happier. It helps them be more calm. It helps them be more evolved as individuals. In a lot of cases, it might help them become more spiritually advanced. And all these are good things. I see nothing wrong in helping people become better versions of themselves. To the second category of people, I'm going to say again, yes, it is absolutely possible. And again, remember that it all originates in you. It all goes through yourself and the changes that you make within your own self. And before I start, let me also say this. Let me clarify this. I don't do this as a hobby. I don't manifest different, improved versions of people just to do it. That takes some energy, that takes some introspection, that takes some inner work. So I only do it when there's a good reason for me to do it. Obviously, I don't go around manifesting different versions of people just for fun, just for kicks. I don't have the time for that. I don't have the energy for that. And at the end of the day, I don't have the interest in that. If I'm going to manifest a different version of a person in my reality and in my life, that has to be because I perceive that change to be beneficial to me and also beneficial to them. And when I say beneficial to me, I don't mean it in any way in the sense that I'm taking advantage of people. I never do that. I mean it in the sense that it's beneficial for the relationship that I share with that person. So with all this clarified, let me now tell you what I do, what 3 things I do to change the people in my reality when I decide that there is a reason to manifest a change in someone's version in my reality. And as I said, depending on the case, I might use 1 of these concepts or 2 of these concepts or all 3 of these concepts. So the first thing is examining my own perception of the person. If I perceive them as needing to change, if I perceive them as needing to become a better, improved version of themselves, why am I saying that? Why am I feeling that? What is my perception of them within myself that is leading me to believe that they need to change? Is it something that is truly hurting them or my relationship with them? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's me perceiving something they've said or something they've done as something different to how they meant it. If I start perceiving something the other person does or says through the lens of my own insecurities, through the lens of my own fears, through the lens of my own limiting beliefs, it's actually very possible that just reframing what they're doing or saying and the reason why they're doing it or saying it in a completely different way. In other words, I start changing my perception of them. Let me give you an example. If I'm talking to a friend and let's say they take a while to respond to my text, I can perceive it as them ignoring me. I can even spiral about it and start thinking that they never care about me anyway. They never respond to me on time, which might or might not be true, but a lot of the times our ego mind plays these kinds of games to us and it causes us to spiral when the 3D reality is actually not even that. So I have a choice of perceiving that person as ignoring me, perceiving that person as not caring about my friendship, perceiving that person as not really a good friend, or I have a choice to view their delayed response as they probably got swamped at work. They probably had a lot of things in their mind and they didn't get a chance to respond to me on time. And so in this way, I'm neutralizing my trigger and I'm allowing them a different perspective. I'm allowing the situation and the relationship a different perspective. When I do that, when that happens, usually I also tend to remember the love I have for this person, the warmth in my soul that I have for this person, the reason why I'm friends with them, the reason why I like them. And so all of a sudden, my perception of them has changed from someone cold, someone who is ignoring me, someone who doesn't care about me, someone who doesn't want to be friends with me, to someone who I like, someone who I love, someone who I value, someone who I appreciate. What this does, because other people are always our mirrors, is that it prompts the other person to come in much warmer, much more loving, much more caring, and more times than not actually fix whatever it was that triggered me on their own without me having to do anything else. So actually changing your perspective and your perception of the person and the situation is very often the key to them starting to show up as a different, improved version of themselves. The second concept that I often apply, and this might surprise you, is acceptance. I accept that trait that they have that might have bothered me, that I might have felt needed to change, and instead I view it from the lens of love. I learn to love it. I learn to accept it. I learn to be happy with it. I learn to not be bothered by it. I learn not to be triggered by it. After all, we always have a choice of what our attitude is. We always have a choice of how we perceive people and relationships and situations. Is that trait in them, that behavior in them, actually really that damaging? Is it actually really that hurtful? Or am I interpreting it through my own insecurities, my own fears, my own doubts, my own limiting beliefs, and so I perceive it as damaging and hurtful? Can I instead learn to accept it, live with it, and actually still appreciate the person for who they are and what they bring to the table on our relationship? The effect this has is also similar to what I just described in point number 1. I lose the trigger within myself. I learn not to be triggered by the things that used to trigger me before. I learn to accept and to love instead. And once I start giving and feeling that unconditional love towards that person, once again, because that person is my mirror, like everybody else in my reality, they start showing me a different version of themselves, a much more loving version, a much kinder version, a much more accepting version towards me as well, because I'm not perfect. And once again, just by simply accepting them for who they are, accepting that trait of them that might have triggered me before, learning to love it, they very, very often change it on their own without me having to do anything else. And the third thing that I sometimes do is that I imagine them as their better, improved version. I usually have some inner conversations with them in my head where they are reflecting that new version of themselves. I feel the joy and the relief and the reassurance that they are now that new, improved version of themselves. And once I make that version of them dominant within myself, then I also see it from them in my 3D. So you see, though, that the common denominator in all these three concepts is me. And that applies to you and to you and to you and to all of you who are watching this video. It all originates in you and it always originates in you. It originates in your perceptions, it originates in your perspectives of reality, of yourself, of other people. It has to do with changing your perceptions, sometimes accepting them for who they are, and sometimes straight going out into the Neville way of imagining them to be a different, better, improved version of themselves. But all of it starts with you shifting your state about the person or the situation. Going from being triggered, from being bothered, from being annoyed, from being sad or from feeling wronged or whatever it might be, to going back to the unconditional love, to the acceptance, to giving them the chance to be a better version of themselves and feeling it within yourself. So I guarantee you, if you apply those three concepts, either individually or all three of them, it depends on the case, you are going to see big differences in your 3D and how the people in your 3D actually show up for you. And you will see for yourself that it is absolutely possible to recreate people as better, more improved versions of themselves, and how you, yourself, all of us, each one of us, has the power to help people to rise into better versions of themselves. With all that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I intend that this has helped. As always, I very much appreciate you guys being on this channel, watching this content. I love making this content for you. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all at the next video. Until then, take care and bye-bye.